apart, we'll be ready to start. Prepping for the unknown, survival in our heart. Join us on the journey, through darkness we'll bring light. Rural Report is here, guiding us through the night.
Hello again and welcome back everybody to another edition of the Rural Report. I am your Rural 2IC, and today we're going to do something a little bit different. And so with Bugout Weekend very quickly approaching, I want to give you a little bit of insight as to the way that I would do something that can be carried out into your world, into camping, as well as a bug out or SHTF situation. And what am I talking about? Well, we're going to talk about how to set up kind of like a campsite. And I'm going to kind of do this with a little bit of a visual appeal, if you will. So if you're listening to this on the podcast, I'm going to do my best to kind of talk you through everything. But this is definitely one of the few that I do that are very on the visual side. So what am I talking about? Well, let me switch my layout, and here you go. So this right here is where we are going to do Bug Out Weekend. And here is the main road you're going to come in. If you're going to Bug Out Weekend, it is this middle road. You're going to take this all the way down until you come to that right-hand turn right here. And this is the parking lot and all that. And then this will be our campsite. Now, I have a better way of looking at this. I just wanted to give you a full look at the entire layout of the Metro Park area, because let's say that we were bugging out. This was a real bug out location. And so this has different forests and woods, as well as a tall grass prairie. There is multiple areas to get water and fish and do things. This is quite a large lake. And then there is lots of different trails and different ways to maneuver around this entire facility. This orange dotted one that goes around the entire perimeter, that is actually a horse trail. And so there's lots of different ways to be able to maneuver around this area of land. And, let's say that we were bugging out and we stumbled upon this. We've never been there before. This might actually be a halfway decent. Now, granted, yes, there is good and bad with anywhere that you pick. There is no cookie cutter, one size fits all. Anything is guaranteed, right? You can already hear somebody going, no, don't go to a park. Everybody's going to go to a park. Okay, but what if the scenario is everybody thinks that everybody's going to go to the park and now no one goes to the park? You literally could have almost this entire thing to yourself. And you think about that in an SHTF situation, if everybody was like, oh no, don't go to the Metro Park, there's structures there. There's a well pump right there. There's lakes there. There's all sorts of different, things and resources and everything at your disposal. So, it's one of those six of one way, half a dozen of the other. You don't know until that time plays out. So let me switch over, and we are going to look at a little bit better as we dive a little deeper into this. So let me switch and go this way. And let me make this a little bigger for you. All right, so there we go. All right, so here again is the full layout of the park. Here is that coming down right here. And let me zoom in. And here's your right turn. Here's your parking lot. And this area right here. So let me come over here. So this area right here is going to be where we're going to camp. So what is it for me? This actually wouldn't be that bad of an area. This might be one that I might kind of look at and at least give a good consideration. Why? If you'll notice, this right here has a lot of trees and different things around it. So that'll give you a little bit of concealment. Um, there's already a structure down here. We're going to take a little closer look here in a minute on all this stuff. Uh, but this is not a bad area. Is there better ones? Yeah, there is. But, for the sake of this, let's just say that we're going to pick this area. And as we go through and we look. So for me, uh, if you notice, you're really close to the largest area of water, as well as there's plenty of water over here. If you come over here, look at all this right here, all these trees. So this actually isn't that bad. You've got openings over here, lots of trees, lots of water. So let's go back down into here, and we're going to go ahead and pick this as our spot. Well, we need to kind of go into the prepping mentality, and let's say that this is a real SHTF situation and a bug out situation. Well, it's location, location, location. All right. We went around and we looked. There's plenty of resources. Um, there's a lot of different things that's going in our favor. So we're going to pick this as our location. And so now we're going to go into the 5 W's before we set up our tent when we get there. So if this right here is my area and I'm going to use solar, right? I'm bringing my solar generator, and we know that for the most part, I know we can get scientifically debatable, but the sun rises in the east, which is over here, and sets in the west, which is over here. This up here would be north, down here would be south. Okay. And if you'll notice, look at the shadow right here. So if you was in this corner up here, this northeastern corner, the sun's going to come up right here, and it's going to cast this really big shadow, and it's not going to be until close to noon that you are going to get any amount of sun. And as noon comes over and the sun starts going over here, look at the shadow and then the trees that are here. As the sun starts to fade, the shadow that's going to come on this side. So for me, if you are going to be using solar like I am, this whole outer perimeter on this side and this side would not be good for solar. So for me, I'm going to want somewhere right in the middle. Now, ideally, it kind of looks like this area down here would be good, but it's very close to the shelter house. Kind of right here, smack dab in the middle, looks pretty decent, as well as this kind of very northern area right here. And so for me, those would be my 3 choices, and probably it would be number 1 on top, 2 in the middle, 3 would be down here. I don't know if they allow anybody down here or not, but if it did, it'd be somewhere again right here. But right here, I think is the uh, bonfire area. So I'm probably going to guess you're probably not going to get right in the middle in here anyway. So it's probably north of everything of the shelter house. So if it's solar, that kind of middle box would probably be where I would want to choose. So we got to start thinking of the W's. Now, number 1 is going to be weather slash wind. We're a little too far out to start thinking about weather. And so we will have to look at that as things come. Now, with the trees and everything, it's going to give a little bit of a little bit of blockage when it comes to wind and some of the stuff like that. It's not going to be a brick wall by any means, but it's definitely going to be better if you were just out here versus you were inside all this. And actually, this might be a really good time. We'll just go ahead and drop ourselves right here. Let's have a ground view. So, all right. So it looked very thick up top, but as you can see, there's a nice clearing right here. Gets a little thicker here, pretty thick there in the back, and then it kind of has some thick and thin points along this side right here. So the upper level with all the leaves and everything kind of played a little bit of some trickery on us, but that's okay. So again, this is going to be north, this is going to be east, this is going to be south, and this is going to be west. So again, if I was to do this tree is probably a good middle point. I don't want to be next to that tree for the sake of if we had a very bad storm or if we had high winds. I don't want, number two, a widowmaker. I don't want anything falling on me. So, again, if I'm sticking with the middle, then I'm going to come a little ways away from this tree and stick in the middle. I don't want to be on the outer perimeter. Again, widowmaker. And two, I want to take advantage of the sun for my solar. So the best choices for me is going to be out here uh, in this tree line somewhere in the middle. Next on the W's is going to be wood. Now, for us, we can't bring wood in. If this was a survival situation, is there wood? Well, we looked over there. There's plenty of woods over there, so we can have wood for fires and different things like that if this was a true SHTF situation. The next one is going to be water. If you remember on the map, the lake is down this way, and so you are not in any sort of an immediate danger. It looks like if there was really bad rain, this doesn't look like it's heavily sloped, and that water is going to be up here coming in our direction. So we would want to make sure, one, we're close to water as a food resource, as a water for drinking resource, but we also want to make sure the danger part of it, that if something is to rise, how much are we in danger? Because if it's a real bad storm, you're probably not getting out of your tent to go investigate how much the water is rising and things like that. We're not in any sort of valley or anything along those lines. And so, that flash flooding and things like that doesn't seem to go too much into this one. So I think we're pretty good. Now, the last W is going to be wildlife. And that's going to be everything from making sure we're not setting up on a game trail, which, in this one, it's, not going to be a game trail. But if this was an SHTF and you were out in the middle of the woods, you don't want to be right there where predators go back and forth all the time, right? You don't want to be part of the menu. So we need to make sure that we are smart about where we're setting up. And that also brings it down to the things that are below, which is the wiggly things. So we want to make sure that we have nothing as far as setting up on a ant mound or any sort of anything that has the creepy crawly stuff. Uh, and a lot of people don't check that. So, if we are going to set up around here, maybe take a nice perimeter walk and look, does any of these things have some sort of a beehive or a hornet's nest or anything like that that we need to be aware of? Is there an ant mound anywhere around here? It's a good idea to walk around this perimeter and kind of maybe do a little bit of a zigzaggy sort of a thing and just start looking around. Is there holes all over the place that we may have to deal with, some sort of mole or rodent sort of thing? Checking along the area and just seeing, is there dead carcasses? Is there anything right there that would symbolize that, there is stuff out here and things like that? Now, with this being a metro park, I'm going to guess that we're not going to have to worry about anything along those lines. But again, you never know, right? I very seriously doubt that, if there was a beehive or a hornet's nest, that they're not going out every hour of every day, knocking them down and making sure that everything's good. It's a metro park, right? The animals they get to be there, and so it's goes back and it relies on us. Now, that is going to be my insight on where I would go through and I would set up. So again, middle line tree, I want somewhere kind of in this area, and the trees are pretty tall. And so, it's going to be one of those that you're going to try and get the best that you possibly can. Now, the structure of your tent is also going to come into play a little bit. If you have a square tent, a rectangular tent, a dome tent, things like that, We want to make sure that we set it up properly. And, there's the certain tents that um, they are more like triangular or hammock tents or different things. Keep in mind on your tent, the area that has the most structure, the most amount of poles and different things like that, that is designed to be the toughest part of your tent. Uh, it's not a thing on tricking you to do be aerodynamic and things like that. And so you want to make sure, for the purposes of everything, generally in Ohio, wind goes from west to east. And so you would want your structure, the strongest part of your tent, to face to the west. Now, if you have a dome tent, or if you have, just a regular square tent or anything, it's going to be one of those ones to where you're going to set it up, and you're going to want to make sure that it is staked properly. Uh, there's a lot of people that have never gone out and gone camping or set up a tent or anything along those lines, and there's a lot of little tips and tricks when it comes to this. Um, when you do a tent stake, we want to start at one corner, and we want to put that in at a 45-degree angle away from the tent, so it gives a nice taut tent line, and it's better in the ground to where it's not going to get pulled out. Um, and then what I like to do is I like to do a star pattern. So I will go to the opposite end, so that way I can pull against what I have already got in the ground. And then I will do the next one and then crisscross back over. So that way I'm getting everything pulled nice and tight, and everything is at a nice 45-degree angle. Um, and that way it gives me a good structure. Now, if you have a tent that has kind of a freestanding to where it sets up without tent lines, then set your tent up. And then what I would do is, once you get it up, you can take steps back and look. Is it faced the direction that I want? Get inside the tent and lay down. Is it really lumpy right there? There's some rocks that the grass is covering. Test it out before you get it all staked in, and you're getting ready to lay down for bed at night, and then all of a sudden you realize, man, there's a bunch of unevenness right here. There's a bunch of rocks, or there's things. It's better to find out now. So set the tent up, test it all out, and then once you're happy with the direction and the area that you're at, go ahead and get it staked in and get it all set up and prepped up and things like that. So that way you will have a good, enjoyable time while you're there. And so I wanted to go through and kind of share some of these things because, if this was a real SHTF situation, a lot of this, especially if you're new, if you've never went out camping, if you never went out and pitched a tent or anything along those lines, there's a lot of people that make the simple little mistakes. And what they will do is they're just going to look for a spot that in their mind's great. They're going to throw the tent up, and then all them little things that we just went over, all of a sudden you don't have a very good night. You don't have a very good bug out weekend experience. And so it's going to be one that if you just do a couple of things when you get there, if you are going, or any sort of SHTF event, go through, look around, make sure that all the danger points is covered, so you're not putting yourself in danger. Make sure the resources and things like that is covered, that you're picking a good spot, tactically, so that way you're getting the most, taking the advantage of where you're going to be, because there's a lot, especially if SHTF is to happen, you've got adrenaline going, you've got all this weight on your back, you've traveled the distance, you're probably tired and hungry and everything else. The last thing you want to do is pick a really bad spot for your tent, or have it to where it is, the thing of putting it on an incline. I've seen that before, where people will put their tent, they're just tired, they're done, They want to just, put up their tent and go to sleep, and they'll put it up on an incline. And the next thing you know, you wake up an hour later, and you've rolled, to one side of the tent and you're stuck in the corner. Or I've seen it to where people do an incline, and the next thing you know, they're laid down and the blood's all rushed to their head, and things like that. And we can sit back and an armchair quarterback and laugh and go, "Oh, you made a mistake." This stuff happens. People do this. And what I want to do is, I don't want you to experience that or experience a bad time. So I'd like to go ahead and share this stuff now. So that way, you know, if you are going, that you have a very good experience. So hopefully this stuff helps. Hopefully, if you are going, great. Hopefully this will do one of the things to where you will make the most out of the experience and out of the weekend. A lot of this is about testing your gear, but if you do not do it in the right conditions, then your test is skewed, right? You can go out and buy a really nice, fancy, great, amazing tent, but if you set it up in the wrong spot, not only could it be deadly, but it could be a bad experience depending on where you put it. There's a lot more that goes into this than, I think what a lot of people uh, just kind of take for granted. So, but again, I hope that this helps you guys. Hopefully, you got a little bit of something out of this, and we'll see how all this goes. But if you're going to Bugout Weekend, then I will see you there. And with that, I hope you guys have a great day, a blessed day. Stay tuned because there's more information to come. And with that, please remember, remain united because we're all prepping in this together.